there is a lot of disagreement in this world. People disagree with one another about this and about that, and people will even disagree with themselves. And these disagreements, these are battles for what is true, for how things ought to be. And these disagreements can become agreements when the points that we're fighting about get settled. And these agreements come when we know which things were true and which things weren't, or maybe which things were right and which things are wrong. The art of settling these things, of settling what's true, settling what's right, is determined by a lot of great tools we have, such as arguments, logic, rationality, ethics, philosophy, etc. And so much of this endless buzz that you will notice online is engaging in this kind of battle. It's about arguments, it's about justifications, explaining why things do make sense, explaining why things don't make sense. And sometimes we get really lost in these details. We get so lost in engaging with the arguments, in assessing whether something is right, or true, or valuable, or just. We get so lost in all of that we forget the dilemma of, hey, how did we decide which things to put our focus on, which things to actually assess the value of, or the rightness, or the truthfulness of? And so ask yourself, how much time do you spend considering others' opinions? And comparatively, how much time do you spend being mindful about which opinions you are spending time considering? Because the internet has become this place where we're very willing to forfeit a lot of our choice about what we engage with. So when you follow someone, when you subscribe to someone on a social media platform, you're consenting to engage with their output whenever that is. Whenever they happen to press send or upload or post, you're now consenting to see whatever they've decided to put out. And so let's take today, for example. I would guess that you did not think, oh, I want to watch a video by Casual TF2. And then you got up and went to my channel and, hey, look at this. You found this video and clicked it. I would also bet that you didn't think, I want to watch a video that's about discerning between our assessment of the validity of things and how we choose which things we decide to assess the validity of. And then you went on your computer and you searched for something like that, and then you happened to find this video. I bet that's not what happened. Most of you are watching this right now because it was forced into your view, right? It showed up on your YouTube homepage, or maybe you got a notification for it on Discord, or maybe someone sent it to you. So in a sense, if we're charitable, you did choose to be here because you did choose to get on YouTube, or you did choose to check your notifications on your phone. But in another sense, you absolutely did not choose to be here. You didn't choose really specifically to be here at this specific video. You chose to get on YouTube or Discord or whatever and let YouTube show you what's on the menu today, what it decided was on the menu today. And if this video wasn't one of the 8 that showed up on your home feed, you might not be here. And also, if this got buried in lots of other notifications and things, other new videos happening in your feed today, you might have missed this video completely. Or you might be watching this months later going, oh, I never saw that for some reason. My point is simply that most of our online consumption is quite unconscious. And so we can imagine, in contrast, like decades ago, a young person daydreaming at school or work or something, they might imagine, oh man, I can't wait to get home and I want to watch Chain Reaction on VHS. Or maybe they're feeling a bit more adventurous and they're seeking some novelty, and they might be thinking, oh, I can't wait to get out of here so I can go to the library and browse around and see if I can find a new book to read. And of course, in the present day, we still do act in that way sometimes, where we decide to engage with a piece of media or a deliberate exploration into a piece of media with that kind of purposefulness. But that's an exception to the rule for how things are nowadays. So many of the systems of information that you're engaging with all the time, they're like a type of gambling, because you don't have any specific idea about what you're going to get. Even if you're trying to just not even use the algorithmic feed and you're just following certain people, you still don't know what those people are going to give you that day. You just don't know. You're going to the feed of your choice when you're craving information, and then it just gives you something. You don't know what it's going to give you. And you've heard a lot of this before about how the feeds are really working because they do continue to show us something that we will continue to engage with, right? If it was completely random and they didn't adapt to us, it wouldn't keep working. But I just want to say flat out that it's sad. I think it's sad that we're used to throwing away our agency and that we're so careless that we're just going to subject ourselves to whatever could possibly be on the feed today. We don't envision specifically, oh yeah, I want that, and then go create that for us, create that situation. And while this is really easy to understand when we talk about big social media platforms and such, I want to consider how that phenomenon might have infiltrated the rest of our lives. Because I think if you've spent a lot of time online, and I think the more time that you do spend online, the more you're going to be conditioned, the more you're going to be accustomed to this kind of lack of agency. And the more I think it will bleed through into the way you approach a lot of other things outside of the internet. For me, I'm a little annoyed with the noisiness of the internet because it really is so much of just tons of assessing whether X is true or false, or whether Y is correct or not, and whether Z is worth appreciating or whatever. And when I'm so engaged with all that stuff, all the online buzz, it gets me in this kind of slightly anxious, wired, hyperactive type of mental space where I'm starting to just constantly assess whether things are indeed true or right or worth appreciating. And this sort of constant analyzing of everything, it really gets in the way of actually living my life purposefully for my own sake. And I would say it applies to everyone as well. Because instead of living life purposefully, we often just barrage ourselves with this chaotic hive mind that is the internet. As an example, when you wake up in the morning, I think you should probably ask yourself first, how am I feeling? Let me notice how I'm feeling and let me think, what would I like to do today? What would I like from today? And in spite of that, a very common thing that so many of us do is first thing in the morning, we get on our device, we check our notifications, we check on social media. Now, what do we see on social media and our device? Oh, look, our phone sent us a notification. Hello, master, how are you feeling? How's your physical state and mental state? And then you go on Twitter and you see the first tweet in your feed has like 10K likes. Hey, what did you have in mind to aspire to today? And then you check your DMs and someone messaged you. Hey, is there anything you should be considering soon to prepare for what you need to do today? And right, of course, that's literally not what happens, and that never happens, and that's my point. You go check your phone, or you get on your computer in the morning, and you're inundated with everyone else's everything. It does not ground you into your feelings and your reality. You see everyone else's opinions, everyone else's current happenings. You see all kinds of new information that doesn't have to do with you and that you didn't know you would see before you saw it. And tragically, a lot of what we're ingesting online as well is from other people who are just as lost and absorbed in that chaos of the internet as we are. So it's like this, there's a feedback loop type effect to it. It's this strange thing where it's like everyone is looking at each other online, and very few people, if not no one, is having that discipline to shut it all off, ignore the noise, and just get in tune with themselves. And you don't see it online too, because if those people are doing that and getting in tune with themselves and ignoring everything, they're not online anymore. They're invisible to that world. But let's talk about getting in tune with yourself. Of course, you listening are going to be way more able to get in tune with yourself than I am. You're going to be better at knowing you than I am. But it's something that takes deliberate time and effort to do. It's not a given that you know yourself. It's not like something like, oh, just at any point I can just tap into that. It's like, no, if you never do that, it's going to be a rusty skill. If you spend the majority of your free time getting lost in that sea of everyone else's thoughts and opinions and art and whatever, then of course it's going to be hard for you to have a sense of who yourself is. I don't know if that's right grammatically, but it's going to be hard for you to know yourself because you're constantly distracting yourself from yourself. Now, let's say that you're happy and fine with how things are going for you, then please just proceed with that and continue to enjoy things as they are for you. For everyone else who might be resonating with this, I want to make a point to notice the danger of when we throw ourselves into that online sea of everyone else. The danger is that we're now at the whims of what everyone else happens to be up to that day, what everyone else happens to be feeling that day. So when you wake up in the morning and you go, how am I feeling? What should I do today? And then you think to yourself, well, I'd quite like to go for a bike ride and clean my kitchen. And then you go for a bike ride and clean your kitchen. When your process works like that, it's so much more reliable than waking up and just not considering any of those things. And then you immediately dive right into this highly socialized internet craziness and you let your mind get infiltrated with whatever's going to happen to be there. It's much better to actually be thoughtful and deliberate about, hey, how do I feel? How would I like to feel and how do I get there? Rather than just going, oh, let's dive in, see what I get from the gambling chaos-ness. Oh, great, look at that, 30 people got shot somewhere. Oh, looks like some of my friends are having a falling out. Oh, look at this, some internet guy that I have a parasocial relationship with says that this thing is bad. When you tap into these places online, you're consenting to absorb and carry with you the dramas of the whole world. Even if you don't think it's affecting you, I promise you it is, at least on some level. Now you're thinking about, oh, all those people died in the back of your head, or you're realizing that, oh, friendships can end at any moment. Whatever that stuff is that you're exposed to is going to sort of linger on with you. But my point here in general is supposed to be optimistic. It's supposed to be an optimistic video. It's like the title of the video. There's good news, some really good news to share, which is that you get to decide what you engage with. Sometimes we just totally forget that, but you do get to decide what you engage with, and you do get to decide what your life is about. Perpetually, you can always at any point ask yourself that question and adjust. So we don't have to think about all the reasons that life's been bad for you and all the reasons that life has been bad for someone else, and I don't have to tell you my reasons for why my life was bad or whatever. Instead of getting caught up in this analytical assessment mode where we're like, is X true? Is X Y? Is X good? Is Y good? Is this cool or not? Was I wronged in life? Were you wronged in life? Was my life hard? Is your life hard? Just slow down, forget everything, and ask yourself, what do you want your life to be about? What do you want from today? Ask yourself that in the morning. Because there really is plenty of misery, plenty of pain, plenty of unfairness in the world to dwell on for millions of lifetimes. And there's also plenty of reasons why you can look at your life and go, this is hard, this isn't fair, I can't do this because of that. And you can spend your whole life just dwelling on all that stuff. And if you want to do that, feel free, that's your choice. What I will try to remind you, and to hopefully get your head straight, and to get all of our heads straight, me too, is that we can't rely on external things to make us feel a certain way. For example, let's say that you fall in love with someone. They make you feel amazing, but then they disappear. And maybe you fall in love with a video game, like Team Fortress 2. But then something changes, it stops being as fun as it used to. Or maybe you get that dream job, finally. And then suddenly there's a worldwide catastrophe and your whole industry is out of work. So with these examples, I'm not trying to make the argument that we got to go totally 100% inwards and we have to meditate in a cave for 10 years because we can get every emotion that we'd ever get externally, internally. That's not my point. My point is that the external stuff is constantly changing and ebbing and flowing. So it might work one day. You might be able to get lots of joy and love and whatever from that one thing today, but there's no guarantee that it's going to work tomorrow or the next day. Things change externally, but what does not change is you having authority over your life. Every day, you are still able to adapt. You still have the choice to point your life in whichever direction you choose. And you can point it with as much vigor as you like to. Just any day, suddenly at any point, you can decide to completely 180. So when we think about that lover who disappeared from our lives, or the game we love changing, or losing the dream job, remember that all these things that we did get a lot of external fulfillment and joy from, they wouldn't have existed in our lives in the first place if we weren't open and willing to try them and to give them effort. If we're a person who's bitter about life and we're thinking, oh, I'm never going to find a game that I want to play. If you're thinking that at the time when you decided to end up playing TF2, you wouldn't have actually decided to end up playing. You'd have been like, no, I don't like games, or it's not going to work for me. I'm not, you know? In the same vein, if that lover who disappeared, when they came into your life initially, if you were bitter about love and your heart was closed off and you were not willing to give them a chance, then it wouldn't have blossomed into that thing that you'd eventually grieve the loss of. So in the same way that there is an ocean of bad stuff out there that you can choose to focus on, there is also an endless ocean of good stuff and infinite possibilities that are waiting for you if you choose to walk down that path. There are things that you never realized that you would enjoy as much as you do until you try them. There's people that you haven't met yet that you will fall in love with. And there is art that you can create it's gonna surprise you at how beautiful it is that you could create such a thing. But you're only gonna discover those things if you purposefully sort of point your life to step towards those things. The more that we treat life like the internet, or we treat the internet like the internet, and we just let it serve us whatever it decides is on the menu at that time, the more likely you are to not enjoy your life, the more likely you are to be left unsatisfied and with a craving for something more. A craving that you could have got something you wanted, and not just whatever the world happened to give you. The whole menu thing, it's an illusion because it's trying to make you think you only have a few options. But in reality, like literally everything is on the menu. You just might have to have the balls to ask the server for something that doesn't appear to be on the menu. And if they don't give you what you want, you just get up and you go and you find the next restaurant, and you keep finding the next restaurant until you get what you want. Don't let your life float on by without questioning it and questioning its trajectory. And who's pointing that trajectory? Is it you, or is it just the ocean of chaos out there? It's really good to remember that you are in control of what you subject yourself to. And what you subject yourself to is going to greatly impact how you feel and how you live. Good luck out there.